And now, in case you were living under a rock, it is true that God of War, the PlayStation exclusive that came out around April, won Game of the Year 2018.
Right, and the game award for Game of the Year goes to God of War.
Oh, However, did you know that Shuhei Yoshida actually was not a fan of this game when he first saw it in development? But what is going on, guys? It is your boy TKD123 here, and today we're going to talk about how God of War went from a game that really needed to be good to sustain the studio that developed it all the way up until being Game of the Year 2018. And so really what kind of spawned me to make this video was an article that came out a few months back that was leading up to the release of, no, I'm sorry, it was after the release of God of War, and it was around, I think, like end of summer, maybe going into fall area, stuff like that, maybe September, maybe August, but it was an article, actually I have it right here, August 20th, was when it was published by IGN, and it was the article here that kind of laid out how there was a PlayStation executive that went to go play God of War before release, and he was not fond of it. And it's not just any regular executive, it's not just any random employee, it was the president of Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios, Shuhei Yoshida. Yes, big boy Yoshida. He went to go and play God of War before release, obviously, that he used to do and stuff like that, and he still does to this day. Where if there's any major game that's being made within a first party, he likes to go over there and make sure the game is all good and stuff like that. Just gonna get, kind of a feel for what these studios are doing in terms of PlayStation games. And he got to play God of War, and he was not fond of the game when he first got to play it. And so of course I will link this in the description, but essentially what was happening was, while the studio was ending its 5-year development cycle on God of War, Cory Barlog was worried that the team had not gotten the combat just right. Barlog trusted the team to pull it off, but it was taking too long. And so his solution was to bring in Yoshida for a play session in December 2017, but it did not go well, as what the article says. Quote, "I mean, the frame rate was terrible, everything just felt bad," recounted Barlog. Yoshida didn't tell Barlog directly how it felt, but his mannerisms made it clear enough. Quote, "He's playing, he's got scrunched up shoulders, head shaking a little bit," said Barlog. Quote, "I definitely get the feeling while he's playing that he's not having the greatest of times," which is great. I mean, it bums me out a little bit, but that's what I brought him in here for. And so it even goes on to explain that Barlog said that he had an employee or some sort of friend that, was talking to Yoshida at a executive party a few days later, and that he was, able to get the exact opinion that Yoshida had on the God of War when he first played it. And he said, quote, "Oh, you're working on God of War? I just got to say, I played the game the other day. I was horrified." Yes, Yoshida was horrified when he first played God of War, which is insane to think about. And then it goes on to also explain that Barlog knew he had to kick the entire development team into gear to, quote, "nail that core loop down and get the frame rate back up." And the studio did just that, and Yoshida had a vastly different impression the next time he played God of War, which is a good thing. So obviously they, clearly improved from what Yoshida said, up front when he first played the game. They clearly went back to the drawing board, made some adjustments and everything, stuff like that, did what they wanted to do with the game, and Yoshida was definitely impressed on the second time he played God of War. And our boy Cory Barlog said in the end it worked out. He played it again, and you can see the two different poses of Yoshida. Horrified is much more rigid. The second time he was not horrified. It was super good, very exciting. And to me, obviously, okay, look, even obviously when a game is being made, obviously in those early iterations of the build and stuff like that, up until the final game, obviously the game is not going to be as fun as it is when it's done, of course. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously they probably didn't have all the systems in check. Maybe they were a bunch of animations that were missing or something like that, or they just didn't have, again, like how he said in the development team, that him being Barlog, was trying to explain that they didn't have the combat 100% down. And to me, one of my favorite parts of the game overall of God of War, and one of the best things about the game, I feel, in my opinion, is that combat. And so the fact that, obviously that he was explaining that they had to get that down and get that to feel right, and they didn't have it right back when Yoshida played it the first time, which would make him feel that this game was horrible and stuff like that, which obviously would have put a lot of worry in me personally if I was in issues and stuff like that. But it is really cool that they kind of explain that they have this little dichotomy where Yoshida at first was not feeling the game, and then obviously we all love it and adore it. At least the mainstream audience and a lot of people definitely do enjoy enjoy God of War, so definitely safe to say that. And it is just really cool to see where it was at and where it has landed up and ended up being in terms of the end of 2018. And it doesn't even stop there, because especially the studio at Sony Santa Monica, this game's development was not the smoothest at all. You know, obviously we hear a lot about you know, the development cycle of different games and how it can be completely insane and completely bad a lot of cases, and that could result in a horrible game and stuff like that, or it could be, you know, end up being fine if it's all good. But definitely a lot of games have had horrible development cycles. Like one for memory, The Last Guardian was a horrible one that took years and years and stuff like that, and there's a bunch of other different ones that just go through development hell. And Sony Santa Monica kind of had that same thing, and really did, you know, pay off in the end, because they did end up having God of War. But you know, to have God of War, they had to have, or they didn't have to have, but they had a crazy development cycle here. And I just had some recent ones here pulled up from a few years ago that kind of lay out how this actually came to be. And so this was back in 2014, and so we have a February 27th update that says the recent layoffs at God of War developer Sony Santa Monica were the results of the cancellation of a development of a new intellectual property. So they were developing a brand new IP, and this whole article says that they had someone that was kind of just like, you know, having out some tweets and everything and really explaining the whole thing and stuff like that. And so they did have this new IP that they were working on, and the IP was canceled, and this was probably due to maybe Ascension doing poor sales and stuff like that. But there was a lot of, you know, devs on Twitter saying their piece about it and everything. And there was even a tweet that I found interesting, was a guy from Jonathan Hawkins was his name, and he obviously worked at the studio. He was saying that they have been working on this new IP since God of War 3, and so even before the development and launch of Ascension, God of War 3, you know, was the start of them making this new IP. And so for it to be working on that long and stuff like that and get canceled is absolutely crazy. And they had a bunch of different layoffs in the team, and the team, for a lot of them, weren't really even in the, you know, limelight and really knew that they were going to get laid off and stuff like that. So even that in itself is also crazy to work about and crazy to think about as well, that you know, this studio had to work really hard to get God of War to where it was. And honestly, I feel like it paid off truly. You know, I think God of War is an amazing game. You guys have heard me and Christian talk about it non-stop on the channel, and especially me as well. I love God of War. And what I kind of want to, you know, highlight this whole thing on and everything and stuff like that was Jason Schreier's tweet from a few days ago when they won the Game of the Year. It was that night. He said, quote, "It's wild that Sony Santa Monica went from a canceled game and rumors that it could be in serious trouble if its next game wasn't a hit to Game of the Year at the Game Awards." That is such a good tweet, honestly. It kind of just like wraps it up in this bow, because what is crazy to me, and probably like the best thing about the God of War 2018 is that, like, okay, I, you know, have played a few of the God of Wars back in the day. Didn't play all of them. Played through a little bit of 1, a little bit of 2 and stuff like that, and then like a little bit of 3 at a friend's house, but not really. It was like, you know, 20 minutes, stuff like that. But I do have a lot of involvement, and I played through both of the Vita and PSP versions. I mean, more PSP. I don't know why I said Vita, but the PSP God of War titles, I played a lot of those and stuff like that. So those two were great games. And you know, what is pretty much consistent in all the old God of War games was that, you know, Kratos never really had a interesting side to him. He was just this crazy hot-headed, you know, dude that was upset with the gods and everything, and he didn't really have a lot of character in him. Like, he was very much a plain, you know, mundane, just, you know, depressed type of enraged type of person that you know, was trying to seek revenge for the wrong that was dealt to him and stuff like that. And he didn't really have any layers. He didn't really have any, you know, personality that was really good and stuff like that. And really overall, kind of the, you know, games just suffered from that. Was that, you know, Kratos wasn't the best character that has ever been developed at all. Even in terms of PlayStation IP, there's plenty of other characters that are much more interesting. But the fact that God of War 2018 was able to bring a character that a lot of people synonymously did not like, you know, Kratos. A lot of people thought it was boring, and for for, you know, this studio to bring God of War 2018 out and really kind of, you know, breathe life into Kratos and give him a better perspective and give him a personality, if you will, and like an actual personality. There's a lot of moments in you know, in God of War 2018 where Kratos is straight spewing out facts to Atreus and straight, you know, giving him these really good lessons and stuff like that, and really, you know, just being a sometimes funny person when he was drinking that alcoholic beverage from back in the Greek times, whatever, like that, you know, was a really cool scene as well. There's a bunch of different scenes that, you know, I made a video about this. Actually, I made a video of my top 10 moments about God of War. I'm just go check that out. I will link it in the description. But, you know, overall, there's a ton of different moments in God of War 2018 that really show and prove that, you know, this was game of the year. Of course, Red Dead 2 came out. I just beat Red Dead Redemption 2 about 3 days ago, and you know, I enjoyed it. Very good game, very good ending. But to me, you know, I knew from the jump, okay, right when I beat God of War, I knew from the jump that this was my game of the year, okay? Even after that was me, after playing Celeste and loving Celeste and stuff like that, and obviously I knew Red Dead was on the horizon, and at that point of being God of War, I had not even played Red Dead 1. So even after playing Red Dead 1, I was like, oh man, Red Dead 2 is gonna be fire, man. Like, I can really tell. And Red Dead 2 is good in its own right, but just the emotion in God of War, and really, you know, the underlying story of a father and a son growing with each other is just, you know, the game of the year material, in my opinion. So definitely just wanted this little video to kind of highlight that, you know, God of War was made in very tough circumstances and a lot of pressures from Shuhei Yoshida to the whole studio suffering layoffs and stuff like that, and a whole canceled IP, and a whole canceled game to have them, you know, through this birth God of War 2018 is insane. So definitely, you know, big ups to the team, and big ups to God of War and Sony Santa Monica and Barlog and everyone else on the team. You know, very good job, obviously, with God of War. But that is all I got for this video, guys. If you all enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the video, as well as let me know down in the comments below what are your favorite moments of God of War 2018. What are your, you know, top boss fights, whatever, top, you know, just anything in terms of God of War. I mean, do you think it even deserved game of the year? If you're one of those that disagree, let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below, because I would love to hear your perspective as why you don't think God of War, you know, should have gotten game of the year. But also make sure to check out the description where you can find the Instagram and Twitter for us on there. Make sure to also check out our Discord down in the description. Make sure to follow that Discord server. We're in there all the time, chatting up, chilling, all that good stuff. So make sure to also check out that Discord and join that server there. But thank you for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.